In the grand arena of life, every man faces his own unique seasons, times of triumph, struggle, growth, and reflection. Your legacy is forged not just by the challenges you face, but by the quality of your thoughts and actions. Welcome to the Legacy Podcast with Ernest Wood, where we explore the path to true happiness, enduring legacy, and becoming the man you're meant to be.
Hey, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. My name is Ernest Wood. I have an awesome guest today. I've had him, actually, I was on his podcast, probably my second or third podcast I was ever on. The dude is a serial entrepreneur. He's been doing it forever. I think when I first started chatting with him, he was in Australia, and he's made it to, I don't even know, 10, 15 countries since then. Now he's down in Puerto Vallarta enjoying life. His YouTube channel has 15,000 subscribers. His last network marketing business at 10,000 members brought in about 10 million for that company. Now he's co-founder of the Life Blueprint, and he's going to go over that with us and tell us who's it can be, who can use it, and why he started it. So Zach, bring us on, man.
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm excited. Podcasts are such a great way to meet people, add value, learn. And so it's a pleasure to be here. So nearly a year later, full circle. I was like, when you came to my podcast, I was like, you should create a podcast. And you're like, yeah, I keep getting told to create a podcast. And I'm like, you could do it. And now you're here. So
see, cool. I took your advice, man. I think I'm on episode, this will probably be like 26 or 27. They say that only like 1 or 2% make it past 3, and then only like 1% of those make it to 21. So I've reached some of the magical goals. Now I just got to get some subscribers and get it growing. So
that's exciting. That's exciting. What's the next goal?
I'm gonna shoot for 100 episodes, see what happens, see if we can, keep people moving. But let's talk about your new adventure that you have, and like what you're doing for people and how you're helping.
Yeah, awesome. So, gosh, where do as much as I want to share what I do, I'd love to quickly take you guys back and share why I do it. And so my story starts in Western Australia. I'm from Western Australia. And unfortunately, my family was quite disconnected growing up. And I had different stepdads growing up, and I didn't see my real dad till I was about 7. And so I guess as a kid, I felt quite disconnected and lost. And in school, I had a lot of learning difficulties, and I had a lot of health challenges. And I was picked on, I was bullied. I definitely hated school, definitely hated high school. And at times, I definitely just wanted to pack it in, and I'd write these poems on death and suicide and stuff like this. It was pretty dark. But what really changed my life was having my first mentor at 17, he was a family friend, and he became my personal trainer. And so we did some personal training sessions together, and he just breathed life into me, sharing with me how the body works and movement, and helped me change my diet. And I started getting these amazing results. And I got this moment of like, oh my gosh, life isn't that hard to change if you know the things to change and the right strategy in order to do them in. And I was like, I want to help other people with their health. I want to help other people with their mind. It was like, I've now got myself through this. How can I pay it forward? And so ever since I was about 17, 18, I've been diving into books and personal development. I've spent over $100,000 on personal development. Out of high school, in high school, to paint a picture, I never asked any question. I never had the confidence. And anytime we did public speaking, I would be hiding in the corner, just hoping the teacher didn't see me, so I didn't have to do any public speaking whatsoever. I had acne. I was just really, really shy, a lot of self-judgment, a lot of self-criticism. And I put these really high standards on myself based on other people's life. And I couldn't breathe. I'd hide in the library and just never left. I played computer games, literally would play computer games at nighttime, all night, or on the weekends for like 16 hours a day if I could just lock myself in the room. But I remember saying in a moment of like feeling really lost and feeling like my life wasn't really going anywhere, I called my real dad and I said, Dad, my life sucks. I don't know what to do. I'm not fitting in. I'm not learning very well. Like, what's the future look like? Like, I feel really depressed. And he says, son, and I'll never forget this. He says, son, never let the external environment impact your internal environment. They're completely different things. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, those feelings you're feeling, you can create them, you can change them. Don't let the weather outside dictate how you're feeling. One person looks at the weather and gets excited to run out into the rain and go, woo. One person looks at the rain and goes, that's depressing. I'm going hiding in the basement. So it's all about our perception. And so even though I wasn't super close with my dad growing up, he always breathed life and personal growth into me. He was reading Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar, and he was in network marketing with Herbalife back 30 something years ago now, and into property. And he was a creative, so he owned an acting school in Perth. And so when I first got out of high school, after I took that advice, after I had my first other mentor help me with my fitness, I went and did Tony Robbins. So I've saved up all this money and I bought my Tony Robbins ticket right at the front part. And it was in Sydney, did all the things. And I literally came back to school 4 days later because I like left school on the Friday, got back on the Tuesday. It was a 4-day event. And people would look at me and say, what, where did Zach go? Because I was holding myself different. I was speaking differently. It was like that part of myself I had just moved aside and I stepped into a different version of myself. And so that kind of gave me the beginning of what I would believe would be, the power of personal power, the ability to transform our lives, the ability to change, the ability to go from point A to point B. I was like, if I can do this crazy shift, then I can do anything. And then I got into acting class. I became an actor. I did TV. I was a live television presenter. I got into YouTube. I've got 400 plus something videos there. I used to work with Vitamix and travel around Australia making whole food recipes, demonstrating in front of 50, 100 people. And so I just threw myself from what had happened in those 18, 19, 20-year-old years. It just shifted my whole identity and I threw myself into, experiencing amazing things in life and traveling, network marketing, personal development, and, wanting to really, the base of it is to create these magic moments or quality moments with my family because it was so disconnected growing up. I just wanted to bring people together. And I think it's those moments where, you're present with the people that you love, doing the little things that
You
really
know,
matter the most to me.
you
And
know, it's crazy. I
yeah,
just want to add to your story there real quick is that getting that mentor or somebody, a coach in your life is almost like it's one of those things that can change your whole entire direction. And people get so stuck living in their own little world that they don't ever find that mentor. That's kind of what happened to me. Our childhoods are very similar, dude. I mean, we very, very close. But I never found that mentor until later in life, like a book, right? Where I had another buddy who's very close to us also. His uncle ended up being his mentor, giving him the book, and then he headed in a different direction. So people who are out there like kind of wondering what the hell to do or like kind of sitting there by themselves, find a mentor. Even if you go and find it on like YouTube or like videos, right? I mean, is that something that you would highly suggest?
well, yeah, they say if you want to know someone's future, tell them who you spend time with, and who we spend time with is who we become. And if that means the podcasts, who you play on YouTube or your podcasts or reading the books, those are people you can spend time with. It's better to probably spend time with those people than say, oh, those books or those resources than say some people in our network. Like the people that I used to spend time with, um, partying, doing drugs, going nowhere. And I realized very quickly that if I keep spending time with these people in 10 years, in 20 years, I'm going to be in a very similar, if not the exact same place.
See, that I just wanted to hit that point, and then I'll let you continue on your story
Yeah,
because so
I
many
couldn't
people
agree
don't
more.
realize how important that is, man.
I couldn't agree more. Now, mindset, they say, is number one, but what trumps mindset is environment. If you put someone who, you know, you put someone in the right environment and you give them the option of choice of like, hey, these are some really unhealthy foods, these are some healthy foods, and they taste amazing. It's my belief that once someone starts trying the healthy foods and there's consistency and then the right environment or the right peer support, they'll start eating the right healthy foods eventually. The quickest way to get a six pack, hang out with other people and do what the people with a six pack do. Yeah, the quickest way to feel depressed is to hang out with depressed people. The quickest way to be wealthy is to hang out with other wealthy, happy people. So
That's
I learned
so true.
I learned this very early on, and I realized that I needed to dislocate or disconnect myself from the unhealthy social circle group, which in Australia is a drinking culture. You go out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like it's just this Groundhog Day thing. And it's similar in a lot of the world. And so I just knew that if I kept doing that, I was going to be unhealthy and depressed. And like, this is not the right thing. So I had to create and collect or invent another social circle. We are, as humans, social beings, and we need community. We need people around us. We can't be disconnected and be the solo wolf all the time. We need that camaraderie and belongingness. And so I knew that, and I was like, okay, I knew myself, and I am so driven by community and hanging around the right people. I was like, I'm going to create my own community. I'm going to create my own new environment. I was inspired by a friend of mine, Blake Doyle. He's in Florida now as an Aussie guy. And he used to have these events called Reconnect on a Sunday. Everyone would put in $40 or $30, and he did laser tag and lunch in the park, or we'd go to a waterfall, or went to the beach together, and he'd organize the whole thing. And I was like, this is really cool. I might start my own little thing. And so I was studying nutrition at the time, and I learned about the benefits of bone broth for healing our gut health. And so I started making this bone broth at home, and all my friends started trying it. I was like, guys, you got to try this stuff. And they were loving it. And so one night I invited like 7 friends over on a Friday. Everyone's busy in Sydney. It's just busy, busy. It's like, guys, come over for dinner. Let's hang out. We don't see each other so much. Life is too busy. Let's just hang out together. So they came over, we hung out in my garage, we were playing pool and darts and having fun. No alcohol, you know, the usual, just broth. Just broth and soup. And we decided just to have a connection night. And it was so much fun that I had to kick them out at 1 a.m. I was like, guys, get out of here. Get out of here. And so I put everyone into a chat on Facebook, and I was like, I'll call this broth night. And then they added their friends. 2 weeks later, 20 people came back. And then they added their friends, and 40 and 50 people came back. And then it grew to about 100 and 120 people. And we used to hire venues and gyms and co-working spaces and these big venues. And I'd have this massive broth night experience. I'd cook bone broth, but also vegetarian, vegan stew. So I catered for everyone. I had 2 people do documentaries about it, mini documentaries. And it was just this community that formed organically from what would be perceived as me trying to get away from the toxic environment of people and social circle, to then creating my own. If I couldn't join one, if I didn't find one, I'm going to create one. That's how important it was. And from that, connections, networking, opportunities, seeing the relationships formed from that, or the friendships, or the partnerships, or It's just things that formed on the back end of that experience was so beautiful and so fulfilling to my soul.
It's kind of funny because when you look around, most of us or a lot of us use alcohol as just like a social thing, right? It's when you go out to eat, you drink some alcohol, or you meet up with your friends, you drink some alcohol, and then all of a sudden, that's your entire weekend. It's just drinking, and we just get in that little rat race. But you guys, you did some bone broth and said, yeah, dude, that's pretty cool though, man. How it grew from a couple friends, and that's how like everything can work, right? It works in the positive or the negative. Like when you start throwing positive out there, you start catching the positive stuff more and more, and it grows. But then it also turns around the other way. If you start getting negative, you draw the different negative people. So it's totally like what you put out to the world is what you get back.
100%. 100%. So I had these unique experiences from childhood and, you know, transforming my life out of high school to then being a part of network marketing and seeing the wealth and the freedom that could be formed from building a network. And then I built my own network with Broth Night. And it just set me up with the belief system that everyone wants the same thing. We all want to feel safe. We all want to be excited by something. We all have big goals. We have small goals. You know, we want that connection. We want the love. We want the growth. And it got me thinking of like, how can other people create their own broth night thing? It doesn't necessarily have to be an event around food. It could be around starting a business or going traveling or starting a blog or doing a podcast, like whatever that thing is, what's your thing? And I wanted to be an example of like literally Microsoft, was it Apple, Disney, all started in a garage. And Broth Night started in a garage as well. So I wanted to like, it's just like unique how God's created the whole thing, orchestrated it. It's, you know, you can't make this thing up. It's hilarious. So that's where goals have always been a really important part of my life. It's like what I write down, what I think about, what I speak about, how I associate myself with other people who are also movers and shakers. That creates a frequency and an energy and a rhythm and a new habit. And I can create anything, you know, it's possible. It's possible. So it created a strong belief. And that's where fast forward throughout this time, if I look back, so that was about 4 years ago. I started Broth Night, and I've done about 26 or something of them since. And the thing that really lights me up is seeing people at these events meet other people and go on to create relationships or businesses, as I mentioned. And so I thought about, I was like, how can I help other people systemize that dream or that vision or that purpose? How do they organize it like I have with Broth Night to bring it to life? And whether it's the business stuff that I've done or the coaching stuff that I've done or now the life blueprint system, the main thing that I'm excited by is like, what is your dream? What do you want? What do you need? What do you want to create? And let's do it. Like now more than ever with technology and AI and just where the world's at, we can bring someone's dream to life faster than ever before. The only real thing that's in our way is typically ourselves. But the thing is, it's hard to feel. It's like if we haven't had an example in our environment growing up, or say like if we didn't experience emotional safety growing up, how do we give emotional safety to others later on? It's tricky. If we've never smelt the scent of a flower of say a rose, if we've never smelt a rose, how do we describe that smell to other people? It's like physically impossible. And so this is where I wanted to create this goal setting system to bring out the dreams of others through a systematic approach. And that's where the Life Blueprint's been born from. And so it's been 5 years in the making. I met my business partner 6 months ago in Puerto Escondido, another part of Mexico. And we've birthed this system that literally turns someone's 10-year vision into bite-sized chunks so that what people do today has meaning and purpose to their big picture vision.
I think that's the big that's a huge thing because I'll just give you an example, like what you just said earlier. If you didn't have anybody around you that had business sense or entrepreneurial stuff, you're just going to do what everybody else did. Go get a job, end up in the same crap, end up in debt, end up owning a house in debt, have some kids, and not that that's all bad, but a lot of people strive for that big or want that big thing in life, being able to own their own business, travel the world, do different things, but we get stuck because there's never been that person in your life to direct you. So now you've put together a goal system, which there's a ton of books out there, right? There's a ton of books. Like why is yours better than all these books? So I'm gonna go with that. Like,
Great question. How do we know it works? Why is it better? So, gosh, this whole topic of goal setting, you're right, has been around forever. Goal setting. What do you feel when you think about goals? Some people get afraid and feel it's frightening setting goals. Some people get excited and get moving. Like it just depends on our experience. But the interesting thing is that my business partner Asher, when we first met, this is what happened. I was meditating and praying in December last year, and I just kept getting this vision in my mind saying, post your goal setting system, this life blueprint system, on Facebook. And I just had this kind of vision of me posting. I was like, okay. So I posted this vision, so this image of my goal setting system. It's like an amazing spreadsheet. And someone who I interviewed on my podcast 4 years ago from Canada said, hey, I'm in Puerto Escondido. Come down, I'll fly you down. Please come teach this goal setting system to some of my inner circle entrepreneur friends. I'm like, absolutely. So I flew down, and now Asher, he's presented Saturday, which was reflecting on 2024. What went well? What could be done better? What are you going to do next time? What do you need to let go of? And then I spoke about goal setting on the Sunday for 2025 to 2035. We're looking big picture. And by the end of these 2 days, people were getting such great results. We got some great feedback. Everyone was like, you should do more of this. And we were like, yeah, how do we do this? Do we do this online? Is it in person? Long story short, we've created this full system that takes the 10-year goals, breaks it down, and a weekly tracker that aligns. We've tested it week in, week out for about 5 months now, and we've just taken 18 people through as a live cohort over 9 modules. So it took 12 sessions. So it's big, meaty work. But how is it different? It's that I don't know a goal setting system that literally, like the analogy we give is it's like an elephant. How do you clean an elephant? An elephant's so big, you got to just clean one section at a time. Yeah. And the same thing with a goal. If you've got these big goals, you need to go one step at a time. And so it's about systematically breaking the goal down from, say, hey, I want a family and kids and be married and live this part of the world in 10 years. Or, hey, I want to make $1 million in 10 years. Or, hey, I want to be able to run marathons and be healthy or compete in this health wise or whatever that means to you. How many times does someone sit you down and say, hey, how do we bring that to life? Where do you need to be in 1 year from now? Where do you need to be in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the next month, week, day? And so this is the wish. I wish someone had really sat me down with this process 10 years ago and said, what do you want? And I'm going to hold you accountable every week, month, quarter, year. So yes, you can write a goal. You can go read a goal setting book and write some goals. You can have a journal. You can have some app or software. But is it going to be broken down to bite-sized chunks today? And is there a community around it that's going to actually nurture and support you throughout that journey? And so we wanted to combine that whole process in one system.
I love it, dude, because that's the big, I think what you said there, accountability, man, because a lot of people, we do the self-help thing. You start writing down your goals, but it's hard to do it by yourself. Like to go, hey, 10 years from now, I want this, right? And then to take those little miniature steps back all the way down to day one. And what are you going to do daily to get to that 10-year goal? You can do it, but having somebody there to discuss with, and go through it, it's huge, man. I think that is a fantastic point. Holding people accountable, breaking it down to an easy, well, not an easy system, I guess an easier system, right? Because it has to be done step by step. I'll give you an example. Like I told you when I first got on your thing, I quit my job. I freaking said, hell, I'm doing this coaching thing. I thought everybody needed it and everybody does need it. But like if you don't know the steps, the little skills of running the business or doing those, you can't get there. So you're gonna have struggles no matter what the goal is. You're gonna have struggles. You're gonna have little building blocks. And so your system, I think you said that you're creating some videos and then you have the community, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the idea is that we have this incredible manual and this unique set of really, really intentional questions that we take people through from the definite aim. If anyone's read the book Think and Grow Rich, the first chapter is desire. And Napoleon Hill says, after interviewing the most successful people throughout the world, is that those that have success have high levels of success. They have a high level of desire. Like a fire, if we have a low amount of heat or a low amount of flame, there's less desire, there's less heat. And so these successful people have a strong flame, just an unwavering level of desire for something more, something greater, to either create, to receive, to give, to become. It's just like this desire that's huge. And then once you have that desire, everything else is actually pretty simple. It's that hunger to create something beyond. Some people just have it. So most people think some people just have it and some people don't. But I believe everyone can actually conjure or master or turn that desire up. Like if it was a like a switch, you can turn that level of desire up. And so that's the very first part of the blueprint. We take you through these 9 questions, and then from that we have these super prompts with AI. And with the super prompt, with these questions, it crafts this incredible definite aim. So Bruce Lee had his own definite aim. If you go on Google Bruce Lee's definite aim, or Jim Carrey had his, $10 million check. Then he landed Dumb and Dumber. And so what is that big picture vision for someone? And then what we do is we break it down into values. I'm a big fan of Dr. John Deane work. He talks about the study of axiology or the study of values. And literally what's important to me shifts and changes how I see the world. What's important to you, you see the world in a certain way. If a woman wants to become pregnant, she's looking for a partner and a husband to have a family, she's going to see the world in a completely different way to someone who's maybe driven purely, who's an athlete and wants to be in the Olympics. They're going to see reality in a completely different way. And so the premise is we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And so who are you? This big question, it's very philosophical. It's like, who are you? Why are we here? Why are you here? Where do we come from? Where are we going? And so that's what we talk about, is through this study of values. And then this amazing, I love incantations or I love affirmations to a degree. But to me, they didn't really land. They don't motivate me. They don't move me really. I am love. I'm motivated. I'm inspired. Like, I don't know, it just didn't fit. So a friend of mine, he says to me, he goes, the 2 most powerful frames in the English language is the why frame. So as a kid, we grow up and we ask why. Like, they're so curious, right? And then the second really powerful frame that's innate is the I am frame. The I am. And so this successful business mentor of mine, he says, combine those 2 together. So ask yourself, instead of I am successful, ask yourself, why am I so successful? Or why am I so healthy? Or why am I so loving? Or why am I so brilliant? And so when you say why, your brain will start to look for answers. And why am I? It just starts to build that repetition of why am I? Why am I? Why am I? And as your brain starts to find these references, if you just, even if you just did it now, why am I X, Y, and Z? It starts to open up a different set of thoughts and a different set of awareness. Questions create focus. And a lot of the time, people's questions they're asking themselves come from a time in their life where there was lack, fear, scarcity, trauma, hurt, pain. And a lot of the time, people's beliefs around money, health, relationships, travel, you know, family, whatever it is, typically comes from a time where they had a traumatic experience or a younger version of themselves. You know, I created beliefs around health and wellness my whole life. And as a 35-year-old man, I can choose different beliefs, but it's those beliefs that I set in my earlier years that craft my reality right now. For example, I love fasting. I did a 14-day water fast a few years ago. It completely changed my whole mindset around food and nutrition and what is energy. But I did another 7-day one. I spent 3 months in the US. I put too much weight on. Right? It's so easy to do that. And I really had some time as I was fasting to reflect on and question my own belief systems around food constantly. Typically I'd use food for celebration or food for a reward or food for a break or, you know, these things which might not necessarily be the best for me in that moment. So I got to thinking, I was like, why do I like to overeat? I love food. I'll eat so much. And I came to the belief of if I don't eat food or this food, I will lose muscle. And I thought about that belief. I was like, that came from when I was about 20 years old, as I was learning bodybuilding for the first time. And I was like, let's bulk and get big. You get more food, more muscle.
Yeah.
But during fast, as a 30-year-old man, just a few months ago, I got to realize that's actually not true. What if I changed that belief and I said, if I don't eat food, I put on muscle. Or if I don't eat food, I put on more muscle. And I started to like go into that thought. And so after the water fast, there's so much awareness that comes from fasting. I highly recommend it. I don't think women should do more than 3 days. I think it can impact their hormones, but men can do a little bit longer. And so that changed as I started to eat food after the water fast, and even to today, I'm more aware of, I still like to eat food, but I've changed my whole habit around eating now. And I'm not overeating anymore because I'm like, actually, I'm eating enough. I feel full, but it's also, I don't need, because that 20-year-old self was in scarcity. I was scared and in fear or lack that if I didn't put the muscle on, I wouldn't have been loved or received by women or admired for status or whatever that thing is. Yeah. But in today, as this year old Zach, that's not the truth. The truth is actually when you fast, you can create, you don't have to lose muscle if you do it the right way. And so that's what we go through with the blueprint is like really looking at big picture, definite aim, come back to values and belief systems that actually allow us to see reality in a certain way. And then we create these amazing I am questions. Why am I honoring my health and wellness today? Or why am I creating amazing possibilities for wealth and networking and growth today in my business? And it's just consciously choosing the thoughts, the words, and the actions that we start to experience and that we start to live, because a lot of our life, I think Carl Jung says, is until we make the unconscious conscious, we will live life and do all these things and just eventually call it fate. But really, these unconscious programs come from the people in our environment. Our brain is just a sponge in the first 10 years of life. And also they come from ancestral. Like the eggs of our mum, where we grew, were in her mum. And so the energy and frequency and the belief systems were in generational. In the Bible, it says, I think it goes back 5 generations. And so that's what we really want to like hone in on before we start setting goals. How do we take off some of the cobwebs and the inner programs that may have been clouding our true programming on what's possible? Looking at how we were born to be rather than how we have been taught or learned to be is very different. A baby's only fear apparently is like loud sounds
And falling.
or
I
falling.
think
And so
falling and
every
loud
other
sounds. I think that's the two or something like that.
something like that. And
Yeah.
so every other
And then
fear,
we're
you got
dude,
it.
it's so crazy. Like, man, I did the same thing with food. That's why I loved when I was on your podcast because we're very similar, man. I'm just an older version of you. Hopefully you look a little better than this when you get up here. But yeah, dude, like you can allow like those little beliefs can control your entire life until you take a grip of them and stop them from controlling. I did the same thing. I do the fasting all the time. I love it, man, because now I know that if I eat, I eat. If I don't eat, I don't eat. It doesn't matter to me. But before, like if I didn't eat within 15 minutes of the time that I was supposed to eat in my brain, I was that guy. Like Betty, like those Betty White commercials of Snickers and shit. Dude, I was horrible. But I love that you actually take people back to that youthful, like what is it, youthful like learning, like you want you like what you really have in you before everybody's patted us down and told us, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do this. You take them all the way back to, yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Exactly. Like, exactly. You see, like if you just go on YouTube or if you go online and you type in inspiring stories, men and women in business, in health, in philanthropic adventures, there's all these incredible people we don't even know about who have changed our reality and changed how we live today in a very beautiful, amazing way that we've never heard of. And my question is, why can't you be that? Why can't you create your own broth night thing? Why can't you bring those dreams to life? It's like you can, and it creates it's step one is desire. You need to have that desire that's burning. You need to become obsessed. Like if I think about any person through my business journey, or anyone that's it's created a transformation in the body or in the relationship, they became it. They made it more important than oxygen. They just turn that level of desire up, and then from there everything else kind of falls into place. Then we just have a blueprint, a schematic, a step by thing, 10 years, 1 year, 30 days, weekly. Okay, great. And then you need the accountability because environment is more powerful than mindset. So you add on the community, and then I'm not saying this will guarantee someone's success, but there's a astronomical higher level of probability from doing this, right? And that's what we're creating. It's really fun, cool community. We've got amazing men and women, entrepreneurs or professionals or athletes or students coming to this program because they see the value in, oh, I don't need to, I don't need to live many more years in procrastination. You mean I can live life without procrastination? You mean I can live life without overwhelm? You mean I can live life like actually ticking off my goals and becoming early to things, achieving things early rather than late? Yeah, you can. And you can do the Grant Cardone 10x. How do you 10x things? Well, you just really master your time. And that's what this process does.
That's freaking awesome, man. I am definitely gonna be like digging into it a little more. Went through your website there. So go ahead and give us we're gonna have to wrap up, but give us three things. Your first one is definitely desire. That's number one. I always ask for three things. So desire, you've went over that. Give us the next two, and then how to contact you and how to get going on your blueprint.
Yeah, we actually have, we'd love to give away our weekly tracker. So it's called Neurofocus. It's a 5 minute weekly success system. The principle is that you use 5 minutes of your day, morning or night, ideally in the morning, to plan your day, or even the night before to plan the next day. And you set out with your biggest goals for the week. You ask yourself, when you get off track, how are you going to get back on track? What's your zigging and zagging strategy? Because we're all going to get distracted. And so, how do you get back on track? Well, use the blueprint, call a friend, go for a walk, pray or meditate or do whatever you do. And then we actually look into how are you going to celebrate when you achieve your goals? Because we are biologically programmed towards pleasure and away from pain. And so, what are you going to do to celebrate when you achieve your goals? You're going to take yourself out, you're going to do that thing with someone, you're going to spend more time with this person. What is that reward? And then, secondly, or thirdly, what is the consequence if you don't achieve your goal? How many burpees are you committed to, or how many push-ups are you committed to as a result of not achieving your goal? Or maybe it's like, I'm not going to have that wine on a Sunday as a reward on a Sunday afternoon. I'm not going to do that this weekend, or I have to do this, I have to do that. And so then we plan your daily tasks, and we have this system that helps us actually put a percentage to each day, so you can gamify. Today I did a 50% day. Today I did a 70%. Today was 100%. Then you can analyze. And then the last part is the reflection. And so it's in the reflection that we actually learn the most. A lot of our reality and time is spent on that next thing, next thing, next thing. And we don't actually stop to smell the roses. They say stop to look back and say, what went well? What could I do better? What could I delegate? What can I hire someone to do? What can I delete off my list? What am I proud of? What am I grateful for? What are some notes so that next week or next month, or when this happens again next quarter, I can be prepared? And so the reflection piece is super, super important, especially when you do it with someone. That's really powerful. And so this is a free program we've created. I'll give you the link somewhere around the video. It's called Neurofocus. It's on Udemy. And you guys get 52 minutes of content. We give you the tracker on spreadsheet, and you guys can use it. If you have a great experience, please give us a testimonial, 5-star rating. That'll help us get it out there to more people. And yeah, check out our website, thelifeblueprint.io, thelifeblueprint.io, and you can find us. But yeah, those other 2 points would be community. So have a vision, have a community around you that supports you. And thirdly, have God. It's my belief that we are a spiritual being having this physical experience. And the more that I lean into my spiritual faith around being a Christian, or the original teachings of Jesus, the more I feel my soul is calm and nurtured spiritually. And that helps me bring that into the physical, so to speak. And the more that I focus on the pleasures of the flesh and, utilize, I guess, my willpower to create everything, life's a lot harder. The more that I lean on spirit and my relationship with God, I feel it creates more support in places that it just didn't, and it just can't. So those would be my 3.
Zach, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I loved the growth that I've seen from just the last year when we spoke. Uh, it's pretty cool, dude. You were a long ways anyway, but now you've even stepped it up further. You're headed on it. You're going to help a lot of people, I think, man. And I might be one of them here shortly, because we do a lot of we're very close to each other, but I love some of the things that you've pointed out, man. Discipline is a definite must. We got to get some mentors, holding people accountable. I love the celebration thing. And then also on the reverse side. And that's where a lot of people, I don't do that one. Like when I don't do something I'm supposed to do, is actually like going, hey, nah, let's fix that. You owe me a little something, something. So, dude, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you soon in person next time.
Yeah.